Welcome to Game of Roses. This is Pace Case.
This is Bachelor Clues, and today we are joined by two very special guests, Jackie Maroney and Stefanie Parker of She's All Bach, high-level Bachelor experts. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
She's All Bach, 82.4K Instagram followers.
Yeah.
You're almost in the
That's
100K
Stephanie.
club.
Yeah. That's all
Yeah.
you.
Let's go.
It's been a few years, so I've been working towards it, but we'll get there one day.
Yes, I believe that is true. You guys are scratching at the door of it. So we're in the off-season right now
Yes.
of Bachelor. There is no content. These off-seasons are rare. For us, they are both cherished and lamented. We always find ourselves during season being like, God, there's so much, like when they're doing Golden Bachelor and Paradise back-to-back. But then the off-season gets here, and you find yourself 2 or 3 weeks into it, and you're like, where's the batch content? So how are you guys surviving this off-season between Bachelor 28
My
and
hands
Bachelor
start
21?
shaking.
Yeah. Need my fix. I think we've been managing. I think luckily for our show, like we do recap, but we also talk about just like Bachelor Nation news, and we have a segment called Bachelor Encounters where people submit stories of meeting people from the show in the wild. We're still doing interviews and stuff, so we're trying to keep the
We
momentum
also just
going.
took a break. We took a 2-week break, which was nice
Oh,
and
congrats.
needed. So like that
Yeah.
kind of
Oh,
helped.
we're about to do ours.
Oh, really? We actually recorded today for the first time in 2 weeks. So it very much was like feeling out what's going on. We were talking about the Nick and Natalie cheating rumors, and when we were reading about it, there was a note that you guys may have some tea. So thought we'd ask you if you would share
Wait,
it.
what?
Do you not?
I mean, this is
that
kind
I
of
know
my
of.
stance on the whole thing. I will simply say this. I think that, especially with things about like infidelity and relationships and all this kind of stuff, I personally am like, I think I should stay out of this unless they make some kind of public statement to that effect. You know, if they want to make that story public for all of us to talk about by putting it on their podcast or something, fair enough. But otherwise, I'm kind of like, I don't know. I don't want to like delve too much into other people's matters.
Of course. But the thing that we read was that you guys may have said that you knew something. So that's why we just wanted to ask.
Well, I mean, I'm sure you guys
I think
are
that
like
was
this,
definitely
too.
Chad.
It was definitely me. I don't. When you get into this world and you've been doing these kinds of podcasts as long as you have, you meet people who know things. They will tell you these things many times off the record.
Right.
That's all I can say.
All right. So off the record, we're going to ask you when we're done, and maybe you'll let us know.
Look, he guaranteed to me that Leslie Fima was the Golden Bachelorette. So
I wish
All I have to say is
the little birdies, sometimes they tell.
they tell
don't
lies
ever know.
sometimes. Yeah.
I don't think they tell lies. I think sometimes
Unintentionally.
I'll simply say this, where Leslie Fima is concerned. I believe she was the Golden Bachelorette for a time.
We were
I'll
just
simply say that.
talking about that. So
I think that too.
I don't think that though, because I saw her the day after the finale was filmed. Like that was filmed on a Thursday, and then I ran into her at some random hotel in LA and like was talking to her about it. And of course, she could have just like lied and said, "Oh yeah, no, I haven't heard. No one's asked me," because I'm kind of like, "Ooh, Golden Bachelorette, what's next for you?" She said though, in a very sad way, not in a coy way, that no one had said anything to her about it. She's like, no one's really called me. I have no idea what's going on. Whereas I feel like if she had already talked about it, she would maybe play a little coy and be like, ooh, I don't know. Let's see.
Right.
But again,
Interesting.
that's just my own random one-off experience based on no facts, just vibes. So, I don't know.
That's most of what we do, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's like a Maria situation. I'm so excited for Joan. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's an amazing choice. But I think if Joan was the choice the entire time, they would have been pushing her in our faces a little bit more. Like I always
Yes.
bring up
I
the
agree.
3 women they brought back to Joey's season to give them advice. And it was Susan, Leslie, and Sandra. I feel like Joan absolutely would have been one of those people had they already
fairy
had her
godmothers.
pegged. And I think it was probably whoever it was, something fell through, and now they have Joan, which I'm down for. Are you guys excited for Joan?
Absolutely.
We thought she was going to be the Golden Bachelorette for a while.
That's what I
And then I don't know why, but we then thought it was going to be Fima.
Well, yeah.
Clues' little lion birdies, probably. But I think her one season play and the way that she left was such a good story.
Yeah.
I do think it kind of got overshadowed by the FEMA victimization edit, but I'm not surprised they're not going with FEMA. I do think they wanted a Gary in my mind. They wanted like someone who is very white, very like for TRR, very like a widow, not a divorcee, that kind of thing. Like in their mind, what would be a Trista for the Golden Bachelorette? But I think any of those like top 10 would have been excellent Golden Bachelorettes anyway. So
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about Jen Tran as well. I'm like, the casting is so good at this point that all of these people could be great leads.
They're completely
Totally.
throwing me off my game, though, because I always feel like I can predict everything they're going to do. And between Jen and Joan, both, I was like, what? But I think, well, obviously, we know in Jen's situation, there were other people. I think the same with Joan. For some reason, I feel like it was Leslie that pulled out. It's funny you keep calling her Fema. I didn't even know her last name. We always just call her Leslie. But like, I feel like it was her call. I feel like ABC wanted her, and I feel like she pulled, and I don't know why. And we're not going to know until she starts doing her rounds.
I don't either.
Yeah, when is she offered?
We've already asked.
We've asked her, and she doesn't know. So I just ask her every few weeks and wait until she says yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was some kind of morning local news talk show that she went on, and I saw this clip, and this is what made me really think like, okay, the information I'm getting is correct about her being Golden Bachelorette. She's sitting on the couch next to this guy, and he's like, so are you going to be the Golden Bachelorette? And she's like, I can't say. And then as they're coming out of the segment and the audio is, merging into the commercial, you hear her essentially say, if I told you that, they'd sue me for $50,000.
And you hear that?
Something like that.
Well, it's true, but like...
She essentially says there would be like a $50,000 penalty for revealing that information. And I'm like, how would she know that unless she's the Golden Bachelorette and they told her, like, don't tell anybody or we'll sue you for $50,000. So I think she was the Golden Bachelorette too. And who knows why. If you look at Daisy, if you look at Maria, I think Daisy was point blank offered it and just said no. And Maria obviously had it. We now know that. She was shooting. They were she was the Bachelorette for a period of days. And what makes you then pull out at that point, I don't know. Once you're doing your shoots and you're putting on the dresses and it's like, this is too much for me, or did she get a better offer? We kind of theorized maybe she's about to have a podcast on the Call Her Daddy network.
Right.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit too. I think though, like we always say this on our show sometimes, that like the only way to go is down. And I think people are kind of realizing, especially people who are being offered the lead role coming off of the show. It's like, well, that means they got a really great edit and they're really, really beloved. And I think people are maybe realizing that like, oh, if I put myself back in this again, there's a chance I come out in a less positive light. So they kind of are like, maybe I'll just quit while I'm ahead. People like in a Daisy and Maria's case, they're like, America loves me. I have opportunities. It's a risk to go back on the show, even as the lead now, which I think is like really unfortunate that they have a track record of like not treating their leads or painting them in the best light in the past few seasons. And I think people are like now finally catching on to that.
I think that's changing though.
I
think it
hope.
really changed with Mike Fleiss being removed from the program. And Charity Lawson's Bachelorette season 20 was the first production season without Fleiss's involvement. I think he was, from everything everyone has said and even the reasons they got rid of him, he was a toxic person who made the workplace environment very toxic. And when you remove that, things get better magically. It's amazing. Yep. And then Charity Lawson's season, like I thought they treated her very well. Her edit was great. And it obviously ended in a successful relationship. Joey Graziadei's season 28, same exact thing. I think that, I wrote a long essay on this, but basically I think it goes back to 2014 with Bachelor season 18, Juan Pablo Galvez. He was the first villain Bachelor. And from that moment on, they kind of wrecked every one of their leads. You had things like Chris Soules being like this. He was a fool. He was goofy. Like nobody wanted to go live in Arlington, Iowa with him. They
made fun of his hometown on the show.
Yeah, and it just goes on. Nick Viall was a villain Bachelor. Ben Higgins was unlovable, and they wrecked that guy. They got him tied up in his like saying "I love you" to two people before the finale. Anyway, I think that they're back on track. Oh God,
that's what I thought you were gonna say.
Banned from the state of Minnesota.
Exactly.
Is that real?
I think
the governor signed some sort of thing that he couldn't go to Minnesota.
Is that how long does that go? Like if he has to do a road trip, is he not allowed to drive through? Probably has to
I
drive
don't know if
around.
this is real. I didn't know the governors could ban someone from a state anyway.
They have their picture. They have
Based off
Ari's
a Bachelor edit.
You know what I'll say to
picture up
that
in
theory,
Grogu's.
Chad? I think Charity and Joey just happen to be two very like wholesome, genuine people.
Ooh.
And I think if they had someone that they could fuck with and they could make into a villain, they would. I don't,
Really?
yeah, well, I do agree about the Mike Fleiss thing. I think getting rid of toxic energy will change like how the show is made. But I think at the end of the day, they just want ratings. And it just so
Totally.
happens that like it didn't make sense to villainize Charity or Joey. They're like two, they're sweet. Everyone loves them. So it didn't make sense for that. I do think if they had a lead that they saw a chance to make them into a villain, if it's going to make them money, it's not like they wouldn't do it. I wouldn't put it past ABC to still do it.
Yeah.
But I hear what you're saying.
But I think like Mike Fleiss's main creative power, at least, you know, in the past 10 years or whatever in that show, has been casting the leads. He had the most say in that process. And so I think even from the casting, they're looking for people. Like if you look at Chris Soules or even
He
Colton
didn't want
Underwood.
Charity.
What's that, Lizzie?
He didn't want Charity.
Yeah, he didn't want Charity to be the lead for season 20. He had someone else completely picked. I think when you're looking at casting people specifically to manipulate them to the point of like the fence jump moment, which became Peter Weber not knowing if Hannah Sluss was going to show up to the finale or any of the subsequent things that happened in any of those seasons. I think you're casting specifically knowing we are going to destroy this person and we want somebody who's easy to manipulate or easy to trick or whatever. And I think that's kind of gone. I think the casting is now more about like who is the catch, who is the person that's going to be like good and fall in love with multiple people, because that really is the story. That's what we've learned, I think, in season 20 and 28 is like the drama isn't as necessary as they think. The drama comes naturally when a person falls in love with multiple people or the choice is hard in the end. That's really what we want to see, not people screaming and running off into the night because production has destroyed them
But
psychologically.
sometimes I
Speak
want to
for
see
yourself.
that.
Yeah, I want to fucking see that. Are you kidding me? Literally, my favorite thing are like the group date cocktail parties.
Speak
I
for
don't care
yourself.
about the group dates, like Bachelor Bowl or like their stupid flag football stuff. But I love the cocktail parties at night when they like all go after each other. That's why I like the show. That's my favorite part. But I agree that when you can tell the drama is being manipulated, it's so not entertaining. Like I always bring up Shrimpgate as an example. I couldn't give two shits about who ate the shrimp. It was so boring and stupid. And you
It
could
was so
tell that it
annoying.
was like being forced by production. I think natural drama would happen if they just chilled the fuck out and let it happen, but they don't.
No, totally. And I think, I mean, we can just get right into it. Paradise is, at least for this year, canceled.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll come back next year for season 10 or whatever. But, you know, I'm curious to know what you guys think is the reason for that.
I think too many people are like just going in with a playbook, a little bit of a plan. I think it was so boring because there's no like no one's going into it genuinely trying to find someone. I think we've seen everyone kind of going in being like, all right, I found someone who I guess I can kind of date throughout this whole time. And then you just stick with that person the whole time because no one wants to get off the show. And unfortunately, the way to stay on the show is to just like stick with someone regardless of whether you have any intention of like dating them in the real world. And I think that's what's unfortunate is like if you want a dating show where people are dating a bunch of people, then like incentivize them to date a bunch of people because they know in dating other people, they risk getting kicked off the show. So then no one really kind of dates. They kind of go in pairs. And that's kind of what it's become. It's just stay on as long as possible. And then we get to the end and they're like, all right, we're all going to break up now because like I don't even really like you. Bye. And I'm like, what did I just watch for 3 months?
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of the problem. They need
Blake
to
and
switch the
Jess.
rules a little bit. Yeah.
Is that Jess, Blake, Moynes, and Jess? That's a perfect example of that this past season of Paradise. Like every episode, you're like, why are they together? Okay, whatever. Next episode, exact same thing. And they did it till they couldn't do it anymore. It's like, oh, okay, we have to go get engaged. All right, bye. And it's like, that's not entertaining to the viewer. We could see right through that. I don't want to watch a bunch of people pretending to like someone so they stay on the show another week. So I think that's part of the reason. And also, how many fucking shows can you actually fit in a year? I don't know where they would have even fit it.
We need our own network.
I mean, right
baby.
now,
Own
we
streaming
right now
network.
have about a 2-month period where there's no Bachelor content. It could fit right here.
Maybe they're tired. They need a break.
I think it was just simply the ratings. And I think you guys are kind of nailing it on the head. None of the relationships are real. You can see the producer's hand in everything when they're bringing down, whoever to break up things. I remember they did it famously with Grocery Store Joe when he was going to propose to Serena, and they bring down Kendall Long.
Yeah.
And you're like, come on. Those moments, I think, destroyed the show. That and the bad attempts at comedy with like Sally's suitcase and the little sketches that they did with Wells dressing in wigs and stuff. It just became tonally, I think that show was all about making fun of the people on it. And to your point of them like nothing's real there and they're all kind of back channel dealing, that definitely happens. As soon as you come off the show, you're in everybody's DMs. Are you going to Paradise? Do you want to make a deal? That's happening immediately. And I think that does kind of shine through, but it's also about protection, because when those players go in, all they're worried about in Paradise is like, are they going to railroad me? Am I going to get destroyed on Paradise and get like a Brendan Marias, Piper James at it and get kicked out and become a villain and lose 100,000 Instagram followers and all my ability to make money online? And so I think they come in with these game plans that are like, all right, you and me, let's make it to the end. We'll fake a proposal if we have to. And that's what the show became because the producers steered it in that direction. But I'm hopeful it'll come
Before
back.
we kind of knew it was off the schedule for this year, Chad and I made an episode about how to save Bachelor in Paradise and like all of our ideas for how we could revamp it. I'm wondering, what would your like ideals be to change it, to incentivize the more dating, etc.?
Yeah. Wait, what were your guys' ideas? I want to hear those ones too.
Well, in that category, we wanted everybody to be on sand to start, and no one is getting kicked off. It's just everyone is there, and it's may the best person win. You get to see people dating everyone.
You know what? With the Blake and Jess example, though, I think if that were the case, if they knew that they could split and still stay and date around and be on the show, I feel like they probably wouldn't have stayed together as long as they did. So I do think that would be a good idea, because it would be less people feeling obligated to stay with someone if they knew that they get to stay on the show anyway. I like that.
I think simple is just better. Like, put 30 hot people all on a beach together and like the drama will happen. So I think I think your idea of eliminating this like elimination aspect of it, at least at first, would let people organically date, and then you'll organically have multiple connections just because they're all hot people and they're all there. And then maybe later on add in like, okay, now we're whittling it down, now we kind of have to pick people and couple up, but at least giving people like a several week opportunity to like feel it out with no consequences, that could maybe make things more interesting.
Yeah. I think we also mentioned getting rid of the forced love triangles. That is kind of like the producer practice of that show narratively in the first like 2 episodes. Really, in the first episode, they always make a love triangle that just seems so forced and dumb.
Yeah,
it's like,
who was it? This one, Kylie
and Olivia?
Olivia?
And
was it Olivia?
that guy?
Olivia was,
But the episode 1 was about the guy.
Oh, no, it was
in the
that other guy. He
Romeo?
fell in the water.
What's his name?
Oh, I've already forgotten his name, and they made him the main character of episode
Right,
1.
I know.
That's your problem.
That's why this season
You're
wasn't
trying to
great.
like force this love triangle. Like,
why can't I think
with
of his
someone
name?
who he didn't even end up on the show? I'm like, he ended up leaving. I'm like, why are you focusing on someone who's not even there the whole season?
I desperately want to be in the editing
And
room.
also, I was like, Rachel Recchia and Blake Moynes are on this season. Why aren't we giving them both date cards in episode 1?
I have no clue. I think they make really questionable choices. I am team bring back Bachelor Pad, because I feel like like the element of money is so much more entertaining. And my whole theory is like, you do have to be strategic for Bachelor Pad. You are making alliances and manipulating people and lying to someone's face and then sending them home behind their backs. And I feel like they're all kind of doing that on Bachelor Pad anyway, but at least in they're all doing that on Bachelor in Paradise anyway, but at least on Bachelor Pad, we're all in on it together. You're trying to win the money. There's challenges. Like, I just feel like it makes more sense to go that route than keep trying to put them on a beach trying to find love. And they could find love on Bachelor Pad. I mean, Blake, Julian, and Holly are still married today, and they met on Bachelor Pad. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
you can find love in a hopeless place.
To that end,
Where people are throwing eggs at people that they think are ugly.
God. Wait, eliminate that part, but the whole...
Some things must be changed. Some things must be updated. But to that end of having like an open game where there's money involved, what third wave shows are you guys watching? To us, these are shows like Special Forces, Traitors. The GOAT.
We
House of
love
Villains.
Traitors. I love Traitors so
Same.
much. And I think out of all those shows, that's probably the only one I'm watching of this third wave that you're calling it. I love Traitors so much.
Special Forces?
No.
It's a boy show.
It seems so boring.
Well, it's just
dominated by Bachelor players.
Okay, can you explain
they win
to
every
me
season.
with Special Forces, like, is there any sort of like psychological manipulation element, or is it just physical challenges? But
the whole game
I thought
is
you win by doing good in the challenges. No, versus like in Traitors, the challenges don't matter as much. The game of Traitors is like the social game in the house, and I think I like that more than Special Forces. It feels totally physical. There's no like game in the house where people are like tricking people. Or is there? I don't know. I haven't watched it.
There are no games in the house, but like, for example, do you want to see Tom Sandoval and Nick Viall have to fist fight each other to the point of bloody lips? Then Special Forces.
I would rather them like manipulate each other off of a round table in Traitors, though.
Okay.
Like,
which one is it though? Is it the punching or the other one? What is it actually?
The real game of it is you don't get eliminated unless you eliminate yourself. So they put you through 8 days of basically physical and psychological torture, and it's like, are you going to tap out or not? And Bachelor players never tap out. They have won both seasons.
And that's why there's multiple winners.
I just wish there were more of them. When I said there's one, I meant like a per season. I just wish like take Bachelor in Paradise and make it that. And sure, I'd watch. Sometimes when they put too many random reality stars, like I have this with House of Villains I really liked, but I knew 3 people on it. And I just wish they would do it more with people that I cared about because they
I want to see an all Bachelor Traitors.
Totally.
So badly.
100%. I don't get why they don't think like we do. I want to work for them and help them.
There. I'm telling you, it will get there. I think what's happening right now in third wave is that we're really seeing the birth of it. All these seasons are in like all these shows are 3 seasons and under so far. This next season of Traitors, which by the way, have you heard who the Bachelor player is going to be, or the rumor?
No, I haven't heard the rumor. Who?
Do you want to know?
Yes, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, do you? Yeah.
Sean Lowe, the golden child.
Interesting.
Really?
No, Stephanie was like underwhelmed.
I don't think he'd be good, honestly.
I don't think so either.
I think he's going to surprise you.
All right.
I think they're going to make him a traitor.
In my mind, he could only be a faithful.
Right.
It'd be great if he's a traitor, but then they'll get him right away.
I don't think so. I think he's going to surprise you. This man was a D1
you think they're
college
cast
athlete.
him as a traitor?
Yeah.
I was hoping for a little bit.
You know what? Now I am. You know what? Now I am thinking about. He was the one who was really into pranks.
Yeah.
And he like did a prank with his whole family.
Can we get them both on? Like
is a
Sean
good one.
and Catherine, make one of them the traitor, one of them the faithful, and then they have to lie to their spouse. Like, let's spice it up, people.
That would
Sean
be
is
great.
not.
Yeah, put Tierra Lacauzi on there with him.
Yeah. I can't control my eyebrow. Miss her. She will not respond to my DMs. I've tried for years.
Oh,
She's just over
that's
it.
rough.
Yeah.
She got his first impression rose. His first impression rose.
Yeah.
No, what I was going to say was with these third wave shows, what we're really seeing is, I think, the birth of kind of a mixed martial arts of reality television. So when all these players come into Traitors, the teams are made immediately. If you're Bravo, if you're CBS, if you're a love show, as they've called it at this point.
Yeah.
GOAT does this too, although they have weird terms for it, like house shows. They did a whole episode that was a celebration of house shows. And I was like, what is that?
What's a house show?
That just has a house in
Big
it?
Brother or like
Not
remodel?
really.
But is The Bachelor a house show? They're in a mansion.
Yeah, I don't know. That show has a lot of problems. But this idea that there are these teams that are being basically formed in the third wave of wherever you came from, whatever your kind of reality TV discipline is, I think is fascinating. And I think as third wave continues to evolve, we are going to see like Traitors, Bachelor season. I think stuff like that will start to happen where the third wave shows are going to kind of, I think, overshadow the source shows, which are like Big Brother, Survivor, Bachelor, all that. Shows. And then you're going to start to see some really interesting stuff. This is maybe 5 years away, I would guess.
We talked to Bergie, and he was like talking about how Love Island, like they're like, I guess the love game show, and they were partnering up with the Bachelor people, which I think is sweet.
It is sweet. It's nice.
I'd like to get more than one of them per season. Like we had
Right.
Peter and Ari.
Yep.
So they're going after bachelors.
Who do you want?
I honestly, when you said that one was going on, I was trying to rack my brain. I don't know off the top
You
of
know
my
who
head.
I unfortunately think would be very good at traitors?
No, don't
Nick.
say it.
I know.
Yes.
Nick Vial. I think
Don't
unfortunately.
say
I know. But I actually think he would be like very good.
I
No? Or I think he would go in being like, I'm gonna be amazing at this, and think he's like way smarter than he is. Maybe
Right.
that.
Either way,
He won
very
Special
entertaining.
Forces.
Yeah, he won Special Forces with Tyler Cameron last season.
And by one, it just means don't quit, which
So
again,
everyone else
seems
quits.
like an
That's
annoying
how you
thing about a
win.
competition show. You have
Everybody
three
else,
winners.
quits or
Okay.
gets a medical disqualification, and then in the very end, in the final episode, you have to make a couple of correct maneuvers in a given situation. For example, in season 2, the premise was you are behind enemy lines, you get captured, and now you're interrogated. So it was Tyler Cameron, Nick Vial, and this Olympic speed skater, and they all three made it through. They all three won together. But the torture is they are dumping buckets. In this scenario, I forget where they were, but it was like freezing outside, and they're in their underwear as they're dumping buckets of water on their head and making them hold these cold metal poles, and they're like physically shivering.
Wait,
and
why do
stuff. They
I
really
want to
break
watch
people
this?
down.
This sounds like sick and entertaining.
I don't want to watch this at all.
They win
It's a great
money,
show.
right? That's what they're doing. Or no? They win nothing? They just win
Correct.
special forces?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's all the players, like to a person, the PTCs on this are great. Like JoJo Siwa had a very long PTC interview, or sorry, personal tragedy card.
Personal
where
tragedy
they're talking
card.
about, whatever has kind of motivated them to do this through the service of whatever trauma they've experienced. And she talked very openly about what fame did to her as a child and how it's like been this weird life and she doesn't know what's real. And she's doing this to prove to herself that like she can do this kind of stuff. Tyler Cameron's obviously was his mom. We call this one group date in Bachelor Circle of Pain date, where they make everybody sit in the circle and tell their PTCs. The thing that I saw in Special Forces, I mean, it blows every Circle of Pain date out of the water that I've ever seen. They have these people. This is maybe 3 weeks or 3 days from the end. So everybody's just busted. People are injured. They've been up since 4 a.m., lugging a boat across a lake, whatever. They make them sit down and write letters to their loved ones as though they had died,
I did see
because
a
that's
video
what
about
Special
that.
Forces people have to do. Write these letters in case they get killed and the letter gets delivered. And so they're
That should be
writing
a
these-
bachelor group
Right.
date.
Totally. I would love, I think I said that when I was watching it. It's insane. Then they make them read the letters to each other. And it is just sobbing, just uncontrollable sobbing for 20 minutes.
So we should watch it, is what you're saying. You've sold me way
yes,
more than
look.
what I was expecting it to be honest.
I didn't want to watch it. Nick Vial went on it, so I watched it. This is also why I'm watching Matchmaker.
He's his number one fan. He thinks he's the greatest bachelor player. of
Well, I
all
know you
time.
call him the great one. I thought that was
Yeah.
joking. That's serious?
No, he's the greatest Bachelor player to have ever lived.
Do you think he would be good on traitors, though?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, I didn't think you were a fan this entire time. I thought you were like making fun of him.
No, I'm not like a fan per se of Vial. I don't know the guy, but
Whoa.
what he did in the game of Bachelor will, I don't think, ever be duplicated. 2 back-to-back second place runs, full end run on Paradise, wore the crown.
I do
More
agree with
total
you
roses,
in that
more
sense.
total kisses.
No, I
Sure.
what did I
He
call
crashed a season.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just now these days find him
I think it's
incredibly
Caitlin Bristow.
insufferable. Yeah, Caitlin Bristow is great.
I want to see Hannah on Traitors.
Me too.
I think she would be better. I feel like Sean Lowe is very like, okay, you cast Ari, you cast Peter. Sean Lowe is just like another kind of 4TRR.
He's
like,
also not
bachelor
someone very
type.
top of mind for me anymore. I just don't
Interesting.
Yeah.
feel like, well, when you said him, I literally had to think, I was like, Sean Booth? No, Sean Lowe. Okay. I had to like place him for a second. He's not top of mind.
Wow.
You think about Sean Lowe?
Every night.
Every single day.
I don't think about the guy.
that's not accurate, but yeah, I think about him from time to time because he's the, if Nick Vial's the greatest player of the game, I would say Sean Lowe is the greatest proof of process. He's the only bachelor
Or
still married
Maria.
to his ring winner and all that.
Put Maria on Traitors.
Maria.
Yes.
You know who I really want to
She'd be
see?
great.
Madison Prewett.
On traitors?
Hell yeah.
Make
I don't
her
think
a
she'd be
villain.
good, actually.
Oh my.
I think
She married a billionaire. She could do anything she wants.
She kind of looks
That
like
was by
Parvati
design.
or whatever. That girl Parvati that we really liked. I feel like she would be like her. Like she's
I don't think
tiny and you
Madison
don't think
would
she's.
be
Did you watch her Survivor
No, I
seasons?
just watched her on Traitors.
But I heard she's iconic.
She's so good on
Really?
Survivor. I was a little disappointed by Traitors because I was like, she's not. Her powers aren't working here. But
I really liked her on Traitors.
she's really good on Survivor.
I could see Maddie being a traitor and manipulating the fuck out of people into being like, well, how could I possibly be a traitor?
I really think she is.
I have Jesus on my side.
She's invoking Jesus at the round tables. I just feel like the players from season 24, really in my mind, Hannah Celeste and Madison Prewett were the first professional players. Like they implicitly understood the game and played it at a level that is like, I don't know if we've seen anything quite like it. Hannah Celeste's night one, greatest night one of all time. Multiple kisses, Fimp Rose. I mean, it was outstanding. And then she wins the ring. That's also rare to get a Fimp and win the ring. Madison Prewett's play, when you're looking at the fantasy suite round where she gets her hometown, she gets the rose to move into fantasy suites before that date, before the rose ceremony is even over. She's like, and by the way, you can't have sex with anyone. Oh my God, that ultimatum play was unreal. And none of those players got to come to Paradise because of the pandemic. They just got like one and done. They all got shortchanged. And I feel like I want to see them do other things. Madison Prewett specifically.
That's
I
fair.
would like to see them do other things.
I can't see her doing it. She doesn't listen to Drake anymore. You think she's going to sign up for a show about lying?
Wait, why doesn't she listen to Drake anymore? I thought they loved Drake. That was their whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you guys!
Wait, they stopped listening? Why?
Drake is a sinner now.
No.
They can't listen to Drake anymore. Sorry,
Unfortunate.
to be the one to break it to you.
Wow.
Yeah, his radio edited music is too much for them.
Oh,
apparently.
well, what are they listening to? Do we know?
I think it's
Kingdom
mainly
Era.
like gospel type stuff.
Okay.
Have you watched any of her podcasts?
I watched
listened to it?
one episode. I think it was with the two of them, with her husband, and I might have not finished it, but it's
Wait, they have a video.
And that's why I was
yeah,
like,
it was
what?
on YouTube. Yeah.
Oh, it said like why I did The Bachelor, or it was that title, right? I saw it and I was like, no thanks. I just didn't care to watch it. What'd you
I
say?
watched the whole thing.
Okay.
All right, tell us about
Madison
it.
Prewett is Bachelor Clues' #1 parasocial relationship.
Wait, this is
I'm
nuts.
fascinated by her.
I'm learning so much.
She is, in my mind, she's one of the most interesting players to ever come out of The Bachelor because she's now a giant Christian influencer, married to a billionaire, about to start her own ministry. I think within 10 years or so, she's going to be kind of the face of young Christian America. Maybe not even that amount of time. And, with that amount of money backing her, I'm sure they have certain political aspirations. I think she's going to be a fixture in like potentially even American politics.
You're
here.
like,
What?
she's going to be the next president of the United States.
You're giving
Honestly,
I'm not
maybe.
saying she'd be the next president necessarily, but also maybe. I don't know.
I mean, not no. Stranger things have happened. I don't
exactly.
know.
Reality TV people do
Don't put-
as president
no,
of the
don't
United
put
States
Let's not
do
in the
president.
last
Don't
few
go there.
years.
Our first female president, Madison
No.
Prewett.
Yeah.
Oh God.
No, she's just a fascinating player to me because she also came from like, I really like thinking about and researching like where these players came from, what their childhoods were like, and how that has produced the type of player they are. For her, it is a highly disciplined and regimented lifestyle, basically instituted by her father, who was a college basketball coach. She obviously was just bred with competition in her veins. I'm sure you remember that picture of her and her dad holding up the ring. They've got like 20 championship basketball rings on every finger. All she does is win. That's her whole life. And if she gets in a show like Traitors, she's going to win, period. And I want to see that.
But she would have to lie to do it. I don't know if she has that in
She's
her.
gonna do it.
Or she could be
I think she does
faithful.
because it's a game,
She's
you know?
maybe when she was listening to Drake, but not anymore. I don't think she'll do it.
She doesn't have it in her anymore. Yeah. She could just be
lied
a faithful.
Yeah, she
True.
could be faithful potentially. But she was on Bachelor season 24. She lied on that.
What did she lie about?
Being in love with Peter Weber.
Okay, fair.
Any of this is real.
But maybe she really
you know.
thought she did. Do you think?
It was the bubble,
No, I
Chad.
don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I listened to her podcast where she talked about why she went on Bachelor, and it was an interesting series of events that led to it. and she went through a lot of hardships, like not getting into her first choice sorority when she was in college. She had to settle for her second
Oh, so
choice.
she didn't
things
win.
of this nature.
That's
Yeah,
her
and
first loss.
Clearly, that haunted her. That was something she talked about extensively
Wow.
in this podcast. But basically, it was just she got the offer. She didn't want to do it, but then her pastor told her something about like God has plans for all of us, and you shouldn't ever look the other way when opportunities come up. And so she did it, and she, in her mind, was going to use it as a platform to kind of talk about her values and virtues and Christianity, and that's why she went on the show. And then, of course, she continues to say, but I did fall in love with him, and no, which is like, come on.
Yeah.
Can we get
That's
Barb
fair.
on Traitors?
Hell yes. That'd be amazing. And I think
She
that's
would be
possible.
so good.
Yeah.
Do you think it's possible?
Yeah, because she is kind of in the world now. After Peter Weber
She
rotated out
hosted
of season
their
2.
after party.
Yeah, the after party.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sure she,
I forgot about that.
knows the producers to some degree. I'm sure Peter Weber can obviously put in a good word. They should have them both on there together.
Ooh.
Now you're talking my
love that.
language. Yes.
They did that in
Bud,
in
are you a
Squid Game.
traitor?
Did you guys watch Squid Game Challenge?
No. Part 1 episode of it.
What?
There's
Sorry.
a mother and son on that
Lizzie, you and
show.
me are like
How do you watch
these
all of
things-
these
He's always trying to
shows?
make me watch these shows, and I'm like, I like more, lifestyle. Maybe they're called house shows. Housewives,
Yeah.
Summer House,
Vanderpump.
etc.
I love.
Like during Survivor, I don't really watch the competitions. I mean, Vanderpump's my favorite, obviously, my number one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get bored during the like physical competitions. Even on Traitors, I'm like, I do not understand
forward.
what any of their challenges
fast
are.
Well,
forward.
what's the
them.
point? What is the point of them?
There's
Actually,
no-
I know it's
no.
to put money in the pot, but like,
They're too hard.
why are they doing that?
Wait,
I don't understand.
Does it go in the pot in this one or is that a different one?
No,
the
in
pot
in
gets
Traitors,
in the
It does
the
go in
money
the
goes in the
pot.
pot.
But
But other
money
than
is also
that,
not.
yeah, like can't they just
But
put the
also,
money in the
Bergie
pot?
told us the clock is fake. So
Which clock?
the clock, like
On the
being like, you have
challenges.
to do it by this time to get the challenge.
You know how all the clocks, they always run down to like, they finish every challenge in 10 seconds or
Yeah.
under,
Mm-hmm.
many times with 1 second left on the clock.
Sure.
And you're just rolling your eyes like, come on.
It was our first question.
It was my first question for sure. I like every time I'm watching Traitors, because I'm like trying to game the strategy to coach players and stuff,
Yeah.
And I'm always like, that clock is just fake. There's no way the clock is real, because that is actually a piece of gameplay. If you're worried about the clock, like if you go into your first challenge on Traitors thinking like, oh shit, we're only gonna have 45 minutes to do this, there's a level of anxiety that comes in that can throw you off your game. But if you know going in, the clocks aren't real, that's bullshit. You never have to worry about it.
True. Wow.
I still would worry
Anyways.
about it.
Tip.
Somehow it would still get into my
Yeah.
brain. The biggest question we've dissected the shit out of this show too. And the biggest question I had is like, when you walk with the cloaks as a traitor into your little meeting room, isn't anyone being like, hey, where's Lizzie? Oh, she's going in a secret meeting. Like, how do they not put two and two together? But we know that they're in
They're all
hotels.
gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they bring the traitors back.
Right.
They take everybody to the hotel. Then they drive the traitors back to the mansion to go film
Wow.
their stuff.
I would be
They're
calling their
pretty good about
hotel
that.
room and be like, why aren't you answering your phone? You're in a
Right.
traitor's
Do you think they know
Yeah.
who's in what other hotel rooms, or do they separate
No.
them to different parts of the hotel so you can't even hear
They don't
other
get
people
phones.
Oh, true.
coming out?
I think once you're out of that castle, that's it. You can't contact anybody for the rest of the night.
Right. And they don't know where other people are in the
Yeah.
hotel.
Well, we interviewed
I hope so.
Nancy from. I'm like, this is reminding me of an interview, and it wasn't Traitors because we haven't interviewed anyone from there. But Nancy from Love Is Blind, they don't sleep there in the Love Is Blind quarters, and she said like they all get shipped away. Same deal to hotels, and you can't see the people because Love Is Blind, and you can't see them. So like they literally are like covered and shipped away. So you
They put them in hoods.
basically. And
Like
yeah, so
hostage,
same
right?
kind of concept
Jesus.
because you can't see who's going where. But I would try to find out.
I loved Nancy.
I love
She
her.
was so
She was
good.
so
Sweet,
sweet.
sweet.
And she was into UFOs, if I
Great
recall.
character. We just got our first Love Is Blind person, Matthew Leib.
Wait, I saw that you
do you
just
remember
promoted
him?
that. He was on the most recent one.
Yeah. He did not like Love Is Blind. Didn't like that experience at all.
Was
Yeah,
he
so that
saying
was a
like
very,
similar
very interesting one.
stuff that like, remember when Danielle and her ex-husband were like speaking out about like the horrible experiences on Love is Blind? Was he saying like similar stuff like that? Or was this like
Yeah.
totally new stuff?
Wouldn't let him go to the
Oh
bathroom.
my God. I believe it though. After because we talked to
We're
Danielle
trying to
and
make
I
him
believe
drink
it.
even though he's sober.
Oh wow.
Wait,
Messy.
what? They gave him drinks?
They encouraged
they were
him
like
to drink, yeah.
encouraging,
Oh.
even though, yeah.
I'm trying
he
to
was also
place
just
which
kind
one
of-
that guy is.
So they made it look like he had walked out of a date after a girl like answered a question a certain way.
I think it was with
that
Chelsea
he had just
Blackwell.
like ghosted.
And they made it seem as though he was saying the same thing to both AD
Oh,
and
yeah.
Amber, I believe.
Right.
The main thing that I took away from it was he was talking a lot about the idea that the producers were kind of telling him, we'll give you a villain edit or we'll sue you if you don't do what we say, if you don't comply with like the narratives we want you to do. That type of stuff is interesting to me. And I don't know if like we've heard the threat of lawsuits from Bachelor players every once in a while, but it's more about just like they make it very clear to you what's in the contract. And if you break kayfabe, we can hit you for 50 grand or whatever. But in Love is Blind, it seems like, at least from the interview we did, they're directly coming up to you and being like, we're going to sue you if you don't do what we say. That's terrifying, in my opinion.
Very terrifying. Didn't I know in Bachelor, like they usually just like threaten the lawsuits and don't really go forward with it. But like every now and then, like Blake Horseman got sued, and was it Luke Parker too, or did they just threaten that?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
Luke Parker did as well.
Those are the only two I know of that like,
Yeah, I
actually
think
got
so.
sued.
Yeah.
I think it's for those two specifically. It's like Luke Parker was a big villain on Bachelorette 15, and we can sue a villain. Nobody will be mad at that. And they were kind of mad at him because he was going on podcasts and like talking shit about the show. I think the Horseman thing was similar. Not that he was a villain necessarily, because he kind of exonerated himself when he showed the receipts and all that. But they didn't like that he was telling people not to go on Paradise because it like wrecks your life. And so they were like, all right, fine, we have to punish you now. But I don't know if that era is still here, you know? I really do feel that we are in a different era with The Bachelor where the producers are not as vindictive. I think it's like a new paradigm. I only say this because of what we see on the screen. It seems like they're doing a different show to me now. Like, what did you guys think of Bachelor 28?
I was like, which one is that? Oh, Joey.
Joey season.
Joe, sorry.
I was pleasantly surprised. I think I went into it, you know, I didn't think that we knew him very well from Charity season. I was kind of like, Joey, like, I wasn't really that invested. But the more we got to know him, I was like, wow, he's actually like a stand-up guy. I was invested in him by the end. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I was very meh about it. And I think I need something a little bit new because everything just kind of felt like vanilla, what we've seen before.
What was kind of frustrating was they were trying to replicate previous Bachelor endings by saying something dramatic, something never happened before. Joey has to leave the stage because the footage we're about to show is too gut-wrenching. And it turns out Daisy's like, I'm out. It's cool that you have Kelsey. Peace. And he's like, yeah, bye. Like, that's what I just felt like when we covered it. While them riding in the limo is iconic, that photo should be in a museum somewhere. Besides that, it was the same cookie cutter ending we have every other season. And I feel like they're so addicted to the Colton Underwood fence jump high that they try to replicate it every season. And sometimes it's just not going to happen. And I think they need to chill when it's not the case.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I think they are still.
And not mislead us with their previews.
Right. Yeah. Lying to us.
But you know,
they got us again.
I will say for what it's worth, I do think that was something we have never seen before. And for Daisy to even be able to do that, to go out there and be like, look, I know you're with Kelsey, I'm self-eliminating. That requires producers to allow it.
Sure.
I think in past seasons, producers would have been like, no, you can't do this. You have to go out there and let him dump you and pretend to, all this stuff. They're at least, it's a step in the right direction of like kind of reality that Daisy is an astute enough player to realize what's going on, and that the producers are astute enough to say like, all right, fine, you can go out, you can play this self-elimination. We allow it. I don't know. I liked it a lot.
No, I liked it
thought
too.
that
Yeah,
season-
we loved Joey's season.
But just stop promoting it like someone died at the end when literally it was an amicable breakup. And I do think when Daisy went to whatever producer and said like, hey, like I'm kind of feeling this. This is what I want to do. I feel like the producer was probably like, jackpot. This is going to be the big thing at the end that we can blow it up to be.
So you think it was Daisy's idea?
I don't know, actually. What do you guys think?
I mean, we'll never know. Either way, I think it's a good play, but
Yeah.
I am curious.
I think it probably was maybe a little bit of both. I think what you're looking at is she was probably in multiple ITMs leading into that last day, telling her producer, I just don't think it's me, and I don't want to really like go through this, and and the producer is getting the orders from on high. The executive producers being like, keep her in it. We have to have the finals, you know? And then eventually they got to the conclusion, like, wait a minute, what if we did something else? They probably pitched it back to her. What if you walked out and did this? And she's like, sounds good.
Right.
That is what it felt like to me anyway. Because Daisy didn't seem to me like a player who was like exerting force over the producers. Like Madison Prewett seemed like that type of player to me. It was just like, I'm only doing what I want to do. Like the ultimatum, for example, you know, I'm sure she was like, I'm doing this. And they were like, okay.
Yeah. That was the season
What
with
do
the
you mean? I'm sure they
note,
loved the ultimatum. Are you kidding?
the note with Kelsey, like the whole cliffhanger with the note, and then
Oh, the note. The note was one of my least favorite things about the whole season.
yeah,
I
like
agree. It was unnecessary for sure.
Unnecessary. I agree. I think that what I loved about Joey's season, and to some extent you saw in Charity's, was the elevation of the lead. Like, I think they made Joey look like the greatest catch ever. Everyone should want to date them. And I think that's going back to like the core of what the show should be, is like, you don't need to produce it because guess what? This person is such a good catch that people are going to compete over it. And I think that like letting just the format of the show shine through instead of just like, I don't know. I think they could have done it for Clayton. I think they could have done it for Zach. Like they could have made them look like the great Bachelor that they probably are. You know, they cast these people for a reason. And we've heard a lot of people say like Zach had way more personality than they ever put in the show. And like starting Clayton's season with the child army singing like Clayton sucks and stuff, like that vibe I feel like is just not there. And maybe it's like partially the bubble seasons, maybe it's Mike Fleiss's absence, but it feels like a better direction to me.
Totally
I
agree.
like it that
Yeah, no, I feel like we never really got to see Clayton's personality until after the show when he was making TikToks with Susie and we're like, oh, he's so funny. And then we had him on the show
Yeah.
and he was so lovely, like still to this day, one of my favorite interviews. And it's like, why are we not seeing that in the season when these are supposed to be like our leads? Like you said, like this person who's supposed to be like on a pedestal dream guy.
I personally think that the Clayton Echard season, Bachelor 26, was really the culmination. It was the final echo and the loudest echo from Bachelor season 18, Juan Pablo. And it was just like, this is what we're going to do to this guy. And then they kept, even in Bachelorette 19, like you were talking about, the child army, Lizzie, coming out of the limo singing Clayton Sucks on the dual Bachelorette season with Gabby Wendy and Rachel Recchia. Like they didn't even let it go in the next season of Bachelorette. They were still referencing how much they hated this guy and how they brought him into The Bachelor. I don't know if you remember, it was on the Bachelorette after the final rose. He comes out to do his little live promo thing. They had him read mean tweets about himself to the audience. It's like you're introducing your Bachelor by having him basically shit talk himself or like co-sign on these tweets that are saying negative things about him. Like what is going through your head as a producer to do that, to even conceive that idea means you don't like that guy and you don't care about the show. You want to just make it as nasty and bad as you possibly can. And to what end? I guess the rose ceremony
it
from
seems
hell.
like a half-baked idea of like, I love like Jimmy Kimmel celebrities read mean tweets. That's hilarious. We'll show how he's like so humble and like can go along with the joke.
But there's something about it too, I think, that is like, I don't even want to call it self-deprecating. It's an idea that I think is in some reality producers, especially ones who have been around since the early 2000s that are still on that show, that reality TV is frivolous and stupid. And if you watch The GOAT, which is executive produced, created by Alon Gale, who's a giant Bachelor producer, obviously, and Bill Dixon too. That's all that show is. It's just talking down to the people watching it, talking down to the people who are on it, talking down to the idea of reality TV. And I think that there's still a little bit of that. At least there was a Clayton season. But again, I think Golden actually did a huge step in the right direction of getting rid of that totally. Being like, no, this is real. And, don't stop believing that whole thing, as cheesy as it was.
No.
It was like that thematically is what that whole season was. And they did a great job of like not really having villains. And now the villain is like friends with all the other ones, and they're hosting the Golden Happy Hour podcast. Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like Bachelor is on a huge upswing right now. And I'm so excited for everything that's about to hit us.
I'm excited too.
I hope so. I hope they don't miss.
Yeah.
I hope it's on a swing and a miss. I hope we like keep this momentum going, but I sometimes don't have faith in these producers to give us what we want.
Yeah. Well, there's new producers. I mean, they have kind of gutted the whole place. There's some people there who've been there for a very long time, but there's a bunch of new people there who are coming in, and in many cases, these people are listening to podcasts like ours, like yours, and they, I think, have a different attitude about like
Micro shows?
What's that?
Micro shows?
Yeah, they're listening to the micro shows.
We didn't get to celebrate Micro Show May. How did you guys celebrate?
Oh no.
It did cross my mind, and like throughout all of May, I'm like, I need to like reach out, and we should do something, and then it just never May kind of came and went. But happy Micro Show May. Yes. Oh yeah, this is our
Micro Show May. Yeah.
Yes. This will come out in June, but
we recorded it in May.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
But no, I think that there.
Did you guys? I mean, we haven't checked in a while. How did you feel about the Golden Bachelor?
Oh, I loved it. Amazing show.
Yeah.
Well, which part? Because there's so many new layers to it with Teresa and Gary. But I loved the actual show. And to your point, Chad, I think they didn't need to do the villain and force drama because the show was different enough that I feel like people would have tuned in regardless. Everyone wanted to see how they were going to make this happen with an older demographic, that they didn't need to have Shrimpgate. Just having them be on the show was enough. That's why I think
Shrimpgate is the thing for you. That's just like, that was it. That's what broke the Bachelor franchise.
What the fuck am I watching? So dumb.
I agree. I agree with what you're saying about Golden Bachelor, though. I think it was, in terms of product, it was the greatest product that this franchise has ever made, with some exception, like some old early seasons. I would say like Bachelor season 7. That's a hard one to neglect. That's Charlie O'Connell. That season was just like, God,
we love that season.
Perfection. But what do you think about this Golden Bachelorette? What do you think the guys are going to be like on this show?
Like in response to like how they're going to approach Joan, or just like how they're going to be as individuals?
I think more as individuals. I'll say this. I believe they're going after some ex-pro athletes. So there may be guys in this pool who are kind of like famous to the other guys. And not in a way that's like on regular Bachelor, it's all guys who are like still aspiring to be pro football players, or they just washed out. This is potentially going to be guys who have had like 10-year careers in some kind of pro sport in a house and sleeping in bunk beds with guys who watched that guy play football or baseball or whatever for however long. That's interesting to me. I also think there's going to be an element of casting that is like, these dudes are all of a certain age. They better have, done well in their careers. So they probably all are going to have a little bit of money, and maybe all might be used to kind of being the alpha patriarch of whatever situation they're in. They're all going to be, again, forced to sleep in bunk beds.
Yeah, that's a good point.
In Philadelphia.
You have a lot of confidence in the casting. They're all going to be athletes with money.
I think so. I think that's the direction they're going, just from, as you say, my birdies.
My birdies. I mean, it makes sense. They cast athletes, ex-athletes on every season. Athletes and like sororities and pageants. I feel like those are all
beauty queens.
I'm actually curious your guys' perspective. Obviously, we all loved Golden Bachelor, but what are your thoughts now with Gary and Teresa splitting so soon after getting married?
Lizzie?
With that whole situation.
Heartbroken, devastated, never gonna be the same.
Yeah, but what do you think was like going on there? I I really struggled with the fact that it's like, why did you guys, like, you didn't have conversations about where you were going to live before getting married? Why did you rush into this only to immediately get divorced? It feels like it's covering up something shady, but I'm just not really sure what that is.
It does seem like there's something shady we don't know about. I feel like we got hints from that, like, Hollywood Reporter article of, like, a different Gary, perhaps. But I feel like the producers made them get married this fast, and
For sure.
I don't know. Like, at that point, and I think they should go with, like, Love is Blind rules, and I think this would help, like, all of the shows of just, like, maybe just do it region by region, because especially on Golden, where they're so set in their place. Like, Teresa was doing duck face with those grandkids every single day. She told us she's not going to leave those kids.
I know, but how did they not discuss
Gary,
that before? How did that not
house?
come up before getting engaged, before getting married? I don't understand.
They've only talked to each other for 24 total hours. Right? That's what Sean Lowe said. He had 24 hours with Catherine before they got engaged.
I think they were in the honeymoon phase when
know.
they agreed to the wedding. Yeah. And by the time the wedding came, they're like, well, we can't back out, and it's a lot of money, so we're going to do it. And I think they tried, but ultimately are like not compatible. I just think it's crazy totally that it happened to the whole point of the Golden Bachelor was that, like, they were supposed to set the example for us kids, and they just proved that they're just like us. So
yeah.
I'm not a kid. I'm old too. I'm more in Gary's age.
As am I. Trust me. But yeah, I think it was primarily just the money.
Not. I'm a baby.
So is Jackie.
Oh, congrats. Well, thank you both so much for joining us for this in-depth conversation about all things in the Bachelor world. We're, of course, looking forward to everything that's about to come out in Bachelor, Traitors. All these shows are about to just start popping off. Perfect Match Season 2, we didn't even talk about that. That's about to drop. I can't wait for it all. But thanks again for joining us. Where should people go to find all your stuff?
Yes. Thank you for having us. And we would love to have you back on our podcast as well. You can check out She's All Bach podcast anywhere you get your podcasts. Spotify, Apple, Amazon, all those places. You could follow me at She's All Bach on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And Jackie?
Oh, yeah. You can follow me at Jackie Maroney _, on TikTok and Instagram. I don't really tweet that much anymore, but I do have a Twitter. But don't want to go follow it. Don't follow that. I guess that's it.
Well, yeah, I can't wait to check in with you guys when we're starting up the new season. Thank you so much for coming
and
on.
Happy Micro Show May.
Happy Micro Show May. Yes.
To us all.
To us all.
Please rate this podcast. Please review this podcast. Please get a friend to listen to us, and then please rate this podcast. Please review this podcast. Please get a friend to listen to us, and then please rate this podcast. Please review this podcast. Please get a friend to listen to us, and then